Welcome to Canada's podcast.
Hello and welcome to Calgary's podcast with Mario Tanaguzzi on Canada's Podcast Network. Joining me today is Dr. Joseph Tucker, who is President and CEO of Magic Med Industries in Calgary. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Mario. It's great to be here.
Okay, well, let's start, Joseph, just by telling me a little bit about Magic Med, what it is and what you guys do.
Sure. Magic Med is it's one of these new companies in the psychedelics medicine space, which is this really cool new area that's just popped up. It really in the last year or so, almost it seems out of nowhere. And basically, the premise behind the whole sector is molecules that you've known about for ages that are hallucinogenic agents, LSD or magic mushrooms or things like that, if used in a psychotherapy session, can be, and in the right setting, can actually provide benefit for people suffering from a variety of, say, mental health challenges. So Magic Med, we're trying to take that to the next level. We think magic mushrooms or LSD or ecstasy is a good starting point, but we all come from pharma backgrounds. So our perspective is if you take that molecule, you modify it, make it better, you can actually have something that's an even better pharmaceutical to treat the mental health challenges. So that's what we're doing is we're modifying these hallucinogenic agents to make new and better drugs.
So what kind of areas of mental health is this being used for?
Well, so the core of it, the bulk of it, let's say, are mostly what I would say mood related. So anxiety, depression, PTSD, that kind of stuff.
And obviously, that's not to make light of it, but obviously this is a growing area of concern in society today, particularly in the last year and a bit with the pandemic, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the pandemic has really, it's actually made it easier for a lot of people to admit that, that they're feeling stressed or that they're feeling anxious. But it's, this area of mental health it's one of the most prevalent, challenges for society, right? I mean, everybody, somebody in the family, a close friend that's, had a challenge with this or maybe even themselves, right? It's totally ubiquitous. Everybody struggles with this stuff.
Yeah. So walk me through this in terms of the production of this, where it's produced and where it goes from there and where it lands eventually.
Sure. Yeah. So when you started by saying production, I thought you meant how do you manufacture the molecules, but I think maybe you mean that and a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So I mean, these are basically being treated as candidate drugs, right? Candidate pharmaceuticals. So they have to be regulated by Health Canada, the FDA, EMA, that kind of thing. So that means, first off, because you're starting generally with hallucinogenic agents, you need to have licensing from the government to allow you even to tinker with these things at all.
Yeah.
And we do. Most of our licensing actually comes through our relationship with the University of Calgary, with professors there and biology and chemistry and faculty of medicine. And we start with that, but then we make these new molecules and then we have to take them through clinical trials. So it's a whole big process, just like any kind of drug development.
And they end up like a regular pharmacy store, basically.
Yeah, that's the plan is to get these molecules that we're making, get them through clinical trials. And then, ultimately, that's what we would like to see. We'd like to see them probably being marketed by some big pharma company that's licensed it from them. Yeah. And then, it's on the shelf, and a psychiatrist, psychologist can prescribe these for their patients.
Okay. Obviously, some people are going to go, whoa, wait a second, right? When you're talking about hallucinogenic stuff, how do you address that with people, that may be concerned that, say, these drugs, end up turning people going the wrong way?
Mm-hmm. Now, really great question. And it's very interesting, Mario. That's actually right. One of the central questions in this sector right now is do you actually need the hallucinogenic experience? Do you need the hallucination to have the benefit? So quite a few folks, some of the originators of the sector have said, absolutely, if you don't have the hallucination, it doesn't work. But there's also a lot of scientists and new science coming out right now that's questioning that theory, that's actually saying, well, if we block the hallucination, do you still get the benefit? And the preliminary data seems to suggest, yeah, if you do it the right way, you can still get the benefit. So I think what we're going to see is one of two streams in the future. Or maybe both. One, if the hallucination is required, the way it's administered is in an in-clinic setting. So you don't get a jar of shrooms that you take home with you. You go into a clinic, you're there, there's a psychologist, a psychiatrist, the whole bit. They control the room, they play the right music for you, and they take you through a session. It's very safe. But you do go through the hallucination.
Yeah.
Or it turns out you don't need it. You can, and this is what we're trying to do. This is part of what we're hoping to be able to do at MagicMed, is if you could knock off the hallucination, but keep all the rest of the benefit, that's much better. But I think at the end of the day, the society is actually reducing a lot of the stigma associated with this. And, we've started to see things like Health Canada allowing people to use magic mushrooms to treat their anxiety and depression in certain settings. So I think the stigma is being reduced as well.
This jogged my memory, but I wrote a story within the past year. There's some company, retail sort of company, based out of Vancouver, that was going to open up all these spots for this, so that people get the and it's part of the psychotherapy and all that stuff. So obviously it's an area, a trend that's growing, right, these days.
Yeah, we're already seeing clinics that administer ketamine, which is similar. It's what they call a dissociative anesthetic. So not exactly the same thing as a hallucinogenic agent, but it's pretty similar. And those clinics already exist. Those molecules are already approved. And so we are seeing a proliferation of those clinics. And the people that own those clinics are saying, we can't wait till this next crop of new molecules comes in, and we'll be able to add that to our clinics.
Okay, super. Just out of curiosity, how did you get involved in this?
Well, I've been I'm a native Calgarian, did all my schooling here, and I've been a guy that just kind of, how shall I say, constantly getting fired doesn't sound good. I'm the kind of guy that needs to create a new company all the time, because nobody will hire me, so that I can hire myself. So I've constantly been creating new companies in this drug development space. And I've been working with a couple of scientists out of the University of Calgary, Peter Ficini and Jill Hagel, who are total leaders in the area of saying, can we go to natural molecules that come from mushrooms or plants, and can we make them into better drugs? So I've been working with them for 8 years. We originally were doing stuff with opiates. We were working on making an opiate, an improved opiate system. And then we were working on cannabinoids. And we actually made another company, Willow Biosciences, we took public 2 years ago. And we saw what was going on in the psychedelic space. And we thought, wow, here's an opportunity to take exactly what we've been doing and make much better molecules in a really, really big mental health market. So it was kind of a natural progression of what we've been doing for almost 10 years.
Now, I understand just recently you've partnered up with a company out of Pittsburgh named
Cognistics.
How's it pronounced?
Cognistics.
Cognistics. Okay, it's spelled kind of strange, but tell me what that's. They're an AI company, I understand, right?
Yeah. So we're really happy to have met them and to be working with them, because I didn't really mention it, but what we're doing is we're creating like a huge number of new molecules, and they're all a little bit different. And it's a really, really large number. We want to find the very best one to use as drugs to go forward. And we realized it's going to be way too difficult and take far too long if we try to manually test them all. We realized we needed some artificial intelligence to be able to piece through this, this very large number, like 100 million potential drugs to find the best ones. So Cognistics is this group that we've met, and their founding scientist is out of UPitt, and he's actually was one of the guys on the original IBM Watson team. Just to give you an idea of his pedigree. So, but anyway, yeah, what they're doing for us is hugely helpful. They're building a custom AI that'll allow us to pick through these molecules and find the very best ones, and then also to expedite moving the molecules into clinical trials. So, the AI that they're building for us is, it's custom, it's perfect, it's just what we need, and they're a really great team to work with.
Wow, very cool. When do you expect to be in the market with this?
You mean when are these drugs going to be actually, given to patients? These take a long time. You're always looking 7 to 10 years. It's a long road, but it's worth it, right? You need to do it to prove that the molecules are safe. But it'll be a while before these are on the shelves.
Okay, let me ask you a few questions, Joseph, just about being an entrepreneur. And you kind of alluded to that earlier. What do you like about being an entrepreneur?
Well, I have to say it's the freedom to essentially dream something up and then make it happen. That's what makes the hair stand up on my arms when I say it. Just kind of right. You just sort of envision this is an ideal company. This is a great business. And it doesn't exist, and then to go and make it happen. So that freedom and that ability to create something that was just in your mind and then turn it into something real. That's what I love about it.
Where have you found, inspiration? I guess to be an entrepreneur. Like, do you have a family background of that? Did you read a book and the light bulb went off?
No, it's being unemployed is that's what inspires me.
Yeah. It usually happens with a lot, especially now, right?
Yeah. Honestly, for me, there's I don't know if I'm too confident or I'm full of myself or something. There's something about me that makes people not want to hire me. I don't know what it is. And so, or at least maybe nobody will hire me for the job I want. Maybe that's it. So honestly, as I said a moment ago, I'm a serial entrepreneur out of necessity. I need to create a company so that I have something to do. Honestly, that's where it comes from. I'm not inspired by anybody I know.
And when you look back at things of being an entrepreneur, do you remember anything that struck you in terms of advice given to you by someone, or maybe even something you read in a book or saw someplace that really resonated with you?
Gosh, no.
Do you read any of those kind of business type books or entrepreneur books? Or
I sure have, yeah. And I remember one that really struck me as being completely off target for me in the drug. So I'm, in the biotech pharma industry. There's something that was quite hot a few years ago, and I forget exactly what it was, but it was about the idea behind it. I've already blanked it because it annoyed me so much. But the idea was get straight to the beta and start selling it, and essentially use your customer to help you design your final product. And I forget the name. I forget the name of it right now. Very popular. Everybody was talking about it, and I think that works fine if you're selling apps or software or something where there's no regulations. But if you're creating a new drug where you have 15 years worth of regulations, it doesn't work, like that kind of scenario. So I have some negative examples.
No, I hear you. Yeah. So, it's being an entrepreneur is not an easy job, obviously. Like, what do you think? What do you think some of the best qualities are of an entrepreneur? Like, is there common thread there that indicates where success can be found in an entrepreneur?
I absolutely think so. I would say the number one thing, in my opinion, is resilience, right? And I would also say not being risk averse. So, you know,
Yeah.
there's that song out there. It's like, I think the band Chumbawamba, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. Like that's the theme song of the entrepreneur, right? You're just like constantly getting knocked down. You just get up, get knocked down, get up. Like, so that I think is number one. And I think number two is being willing to put yourself in a situation that you're uncomfortable. Things that, you know, for me, one of the biggest things is public speaking. Right. And so, you know what, you're just going to have to put yourself in those situations until it doesn't bother you anymore. I think those are a couple of big things.
You know, when you mentioned that about falling, it reminded me, I don't know if you're a basketball fan or not, but remember the superstar Michael Jordan? And he had a famous comment or quote regarding that, about how everybody talks about all the shots that he's made, but nobody realizes how many shots he missed, getting to that point, right? And
Babe Ruth was famous for not only having the highest number of home runs, but also having the highest number of strikeouts.
You know what? And that's the same thing with Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson, the same thing, right? Mr. October, known for just knocking them out of the ballpark, but he's right up there in terms of the strikeout list, right? And
right.
You swing for the fences.
Wayne's got that line about you miss every shot you don't take, something like that, right? So it's keep going, right? Don't. And you know what I think that comes from is, I think it comes from a belief in yourself. If you believe you're going to get there, then a million people can tell you you're a fool and it doesn't matter, because you just know that guy's wrong and you keep going.
All right, that's super. Well, thanks a lot, Joseph, for joining us today.
I appreciate it, Mario. A lot of fun to be here.
Okay, you bet. That was Dr. Joseph Tucker, President and CEO of Magic Med Industries in Calgary. This has been Calgary's Podcast with Mario Toneguzzi on Canada's Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us today.